Hey everyone, and welcome. I'm Dr. Mache Seibel, and this is Ask Dr. Mache, and we are live on Facebook. It is Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time and 6 p.m. Pacific Time, and I hope that you will share this with your friends so that everybody can join in and ask questions, get information, and find out the answers to questions that they may be having, because it's confusing out there. You know, this is brought to you by Hot Years Mag, and it is the magazine that I edit, and it is an award-winning magazine. You can see examples of it behind me over here and over here. It comes out on hotyearsmag.com, and it's a digital magazine. You can get it at no cost. And it's an opportunity to get the latest information. It not only has great written material, but not only about menopause per se, but there's also things on lifestyle. There's information for recipes, exercises, and a whole lot of other things. It includes videos within the magazine, as well as some audio and music and other stuff. It's really quite a remarkable magazine. It's yours free at hotyearsmag.com, and all you have to do is go there and download it. And if you're enjoying it, I would really appreciate if you would write a review. That's all that we're asking of you. And if you like Hot Years Mag, you can also share that with your friends. Well, I was thinking about what to discuss tonight, and if you have questions or areas that you'd like to know about, I would appreciate it if you would let me know. And just write into me. You can do it here, or where you can go to Ask Dr. Mache, AskDrMache.com. You can go there, and that will be a place you can write things in. But if you would let me know, it would be awesome, because it's an opportunity for me to be sure that I'm covering topics that you want to know about. Now today, this weekend coming, is going to be Mother's Day, and I really think that Mother's Day is a pretty special day. Where would we be without moms and without Mother's Day? And it's a real opportunity to say thank you to the women that brought us into this world. And of course, you may be the mom, you may be the daughter, you may be a mom and a daughter, you may have sisters, are all kinds of friends and so forth. So Mother's Day is a very special day. Families often get together to celebrate, and I know we will be doing that, and I hope you will be doing that too. My mother is going to be 94 this summer, and so we have been trying to figure out the celebration for Mother's Day, and my sister was with her for a brunch that they had in honors of Mother's Day in Texas, where she lives, and it's a very special day. Now, one of the things I thought I would talk about, it's an interface between moms and between Mother's Day and between menopause and perimenopause, and in this little circle, it's like the fertility side of things. It's something that doesn't get talked about a lot, but in my earlier years in my practice, I was one of the leading infertility specialists, even helped gorillas get pregnant at the zoo. It was a very exciting time, and but also all of the excitement about the in vitro fertilizations and so forth. So the question is, if you're thinking about having kids, menopause plays a role, because women are getting married later and later. You know, you think that you are going to be able to have kids whenever you want, and pow, you're just going to go and knock one of those kids right out, and that'll be the end of it. But you know, the fact of the matter is that after about 31 or 2, right in that sweet spot, fertility starts to hit a tipping point and actually starts to decline a little bit. Now, it's still possible to get pregnant at 32 and 33 and 35, but certainly after 34, 35, fertility starts to decline, and after 40, it declines a lot. You start getting up to 43, 42, you're down in the single digits of the opportunity to get pregnant. So since menopause starts before 45 and up to 5 to 10% of women. And since the symptoms can start up to 5 to 10 years before that, women in their 30s and women in their late 30s and women in their early 40s could be really struggling to get pregnant. And then we have another category of women who are in their early 30s, middle 30s, late 30s at the latest, who have genetic issues that are going to require them to have their ovaries removed and their tubes removed, which is going to throw them into menopause like pow, just overnight. They're just fine. They're ovulating every month and they're having periods every month, and then they have surgery and not anymore. So that is another category. So let's just talk a little bit about this because, I mean, how long does it take to get pregnant? Well, you know, when you're a teenager, you think it'll only take one try, and you may be right. But the fact of the matter is that for most adult women, it takes between 3 months to 12 months to get pregnant. Because infertility is defined as 12 months or more of trying and not conceiving. You don't have to have the baby within a year, but you can get pregnant within a year. So if that's normal and natural, imagine when it starts to get harder, how long it can take. It can start to take a lot longer. And the reason for that is because when you're younger, all the eggs that are ever going to be in your ovaries are there from the time you were born, and then they start getting used up month after month after month, so that by the time you get to be 35, 38, 41, I mean, there's less and less and less ovaries there. And the ones that are remaining are just a little bit more resistant to ovulate, in other words, maturing and releasing and being available. And they also tend to be the ones that will have a little bit more risk of a genetic problem, so that women who are older, when they get pregnant, have a slight more risk of either having a miscarriage or having a child that has a problem because of a genetic issue. So these are all realities. So my first line is that if you're thinking about having a baby, you should do it. Because if you got one, you know you got one, and if you don't have one, you never know. The second thing is that if you are a woman who is now thinking that you could be in perimenopause and you haven't completed your childbearing, you should see a fertility person then. Not in a little while, not in 3 months, not in 6 months. Now, because it takes a while to get an appointment, and then when you get in, it takes a while to get diagnosis done and, you know, testing, and it can take you 3 to 6 months to get up to the starting line before you can do anything. And so you want to try and get started on this if you haven't completed your family building. And this is a big issue for women, because what happens is women are getting married later than they have in past years. The age of the marriage now is starting to drift upwards. And then people want to live together for a while and, you know, experience each other. In addition, they want to try and get some revenue coming in, so they want to, you know, get their jobs going. All this is going on right at the time when their fertility is thinking, well, you know, maybe you should do something about having a baby now. And of course, people don't want to have a baby because they think, I can't afford a baby. But actually, it can be easier to afford having a baby than it can afford having all the treatments to make a baby. So it's all a lot of a balancing act in your mind. So one of the things that you want to do is if you haven't finished having kids, or say you have 1 kid or 2 kids and you wanted another one, and you're starting to get anywhere near perimenopause, or you have any thoughts at all that your cycles are getting a little funny, or you're having some of the symptoms of perimenopause, mood swings, or hot flashes, or irregular cycles, or shorter cycles, things are getting a little odd, you want to test and see where you are if having a kid is in your future consideration. The next thing is that you want to go and get seen sooner than later, as I said. And the third thing is that if you're going to do anything, you got to go all in. You got to be aggressive about it and do all that you're able to do because at some point it will no longer be in your control. So let me just mention a couple of things that I think are important about, and I hope if you have questions about this, is this something that is, you know somebody or they have an issue? First of all, I hope you'll share this with people. But second of all, I hope you'll ask questions because, I mean, this is a kind of an interesting topic. If you're dealing with it, who are you going to ask? And it's a real good opportunity to do that now. So there are two categories I want to talk about, and then I'll stop. But the first category is for people who are single and they don't have a partner, and they are anxious because, you know, they're getting older. Or they could be single and they have going to have surgery because of a genetic condition. In these situations, if you're single, then you can now freeze eggs. To do that, it's not, you know, you just can't go like to the freezer in your refrigerator, you know, open up, go into the refrigerator section, pop some eggs in. No, you have to get those eggs out, and usually that involves doing in vitro fertilization. That involves usually taking some medications, usually injections for 10 days, more or less, and then having some ultrasounds and blood tests done. The ultrasounds are done by placing a little probe about the size of my thumb into the vaginal canal every couple of days, and then you go into an operating room, usually under local sedation, and with ultrasound, the eggs are taken out, and then they are frozen. And it's only been in the last couple of years that egg freezing has been really successful. Up until then, it was pretty much experimental. Maybe 3 years or so it's been, you know, really consistent, but it still varies a lot from clinic to clinic, so you need to know who you're working with. So if you're single, you can freeze eggs, and you want to do that by, first of all, A, picking the right center, and B, not waiting too long to freeze them, because remember, about 10%, up to 10% of women are going to go into menopause before 45, 1 in 100 before age 40. So there's going to be some women who are going to be disappointed with this. But if you're thinking about it, then that's what you do. If you have a partner, then you can freeze embryos. In other words, you can fertilize the egg with your partner's sperm and then freeze that. And in general, you always do better freezing the embryos than the eggs in general, because an egg, if you think about it, is one cell. It's a huge cell. Think about that. It's a cell that's big enough that you can see it with the naked eye. If you put an egg in a petri dish from a human, you can actually see that little fleck in the petri dish. So it's big as cells go. Whereas an embryo is not one cell. It can be 4 cells, 8 cells, 16 cells, 32 cells. It can be quite a few cells. And that way, with so many cells, survival is always higher than it is with a single cell. But successes are getting better all the time. The other side of that story is that for women who are actually thrown into menopause and they weren't able to get pregnant, then they can do egg donation. What is that? Well, you either find someone that you know, a relative, or a friend, or you can identify a woman who's willing to do in vitro fertilization, donate her eggs, then her eggs are fertilized with your partner's sperm, your male partner's sperm, and then you can then do the in vitro fertilization, the eggs divide, then you can get those back, freeze them, or use them at that time, and even after menopause, you can have a baby. And this is not something that I'm suggesting for a woman who's 65, no, but there are going to be women who are 35, 40, 45, who are in menopause, and for them, this will be a solution that would be acceptable. And of course, you have a lot to do with that baby because it's growing in you. You're going to be the birth mother, but not the genetic mother. But this is a really good option for women who go into earlier menopause. So I wanted to just talk about this because it's a topic that doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's one that women need to think about, and why it's important to be checked regularly when you're younger, particularly if you haven't finished completing your childbearing or haven't even started your childbearing, because if you haven't, you can be a very young woman and still be facing these things that you think in your mind's eye happen to, quote, older women. But not necessarily, because menopause is not about age. It's about transition, and transitioning from being a reproductively active woman to being a post-reproductively active woman. So it's all about this hormones and change and reproduction and knowing what to do. In that way, you give yourself the best chance to celebrate Mother's Day. So I wanted to just talk about this. I would like to see if you have any questions about it, because I'd be happy to answer. Usually we talk about more usual symptoms. We talk about hot flashes, or we talk about sleep issues, or we talk about fog, brain fog, or we talk about, palpitations, or we talk about bladder sensitivity or osteoporosis, or many of the symptoms of menopause. And those are really important. But for a lot of women, this is also important. So since it's Mother's Day, or Mother's Day is coming, I wanted to mention it to you. I want to mention to you again that this program is brought to you by HotYearsMag.com. And you can go to HotYearsMag.com and get a free issue of the award-winning magazine Hot Years, as seen over here. And it's a digital magazine that you will really get a lot of information from, as well as something that you can enjoy, because you can see videos that I do with speakers at some of the main national meetings. We have audio and just a ton of stuff that you will find very valuable, and it's free. You can get it, and it comes instead of coming in your mailbox, it's going to come into your inbox. It's going to go to your phone, or it'll go to your tablet, or it'll go to your computer, so you can watch it on any device, which makes it very simple for you. I also want to mention that if you haven't done it, take the Menopause Quiz. It's a quiz I've created. It's about 2 minutes long. And you can take this quiz and find out how much the symptoms of menopause or perimenopause are impacting your life. Get some automatically get the answers in about just as soon as you submit it. And then you'll get a few emails that'll offer you some information that might be helpful to you. So that's at menopausequiz.com. Do we have any questions? I'd be very happy to answer them. I know this is a topic that doesn't apply to some women because they're done with childbearing. But what I find is that people have friends, they have daughters, they have people that they care about, that they're wondering about, what about these issues? And this is a very, very, very important consideration, because the potential to get to having your reproductive years and not have kids can be very upsetting to people. I once wrote a poem. I wrote an infertility book. As a matter of fact, years ago, I wrote this book. It was one of the leading infertility books in the world. Infertility, a comprehensive text. This was the second edition of it. And it was the major textbook for infertility. But in it, I wrote a poem. It went like this. The simple union of man and wife in love creates a brand new life, a child to cherish, play with, and be their link with immortality. What bliss and joy they anticipate, unless infertility becomes their fate and buries dreams that die within, as they mourn the child who might have been. It's always occurred to me that having children is one of those things that everybody, or most people, I won't say everybody, but most people try to do. And I think the reason is it's how people live on. It's the whole purpose of humans and animals and everything else being here. Bacteria at every level of life, reproduction is one of the motivational factors. and people want to live on. And so infertility is a loss of something potential. It's not a loss of something like a loss of a child. It's the loss of the potential to have a child, which makes it one that people often grieve about because there's nothing to bury, there's nothing to see, and it becomes a big emotional loss for people. So it is a big factor in people's lives. And that's why I wanted to talk about it and address it, because a lot of people get caught off guard by menopause, and they're not only struggling with the symptoms, but also the, quote, the consequences of it. I also want to say that if you're struggling with the symptoms of menopause and you have not gotten a copy of this best-selling book that I wrote, it's called The Estrogen Fix. It's available on Amazon, bookstores. It's available just about everywhere. And it came out not that long ago, and it has been recommended by the North American Menopause Society, not only for women going through menopause, but because it's so well documented, it's also, by that I mean it has so many references that even though it's easy to read, if you want to know the papers where I got the information from, it's in here. And you don't have to read the whole book. There's 11 pages of indexes in the back, so you can go exactly to the part that you want and just read that section. And the book is in paperback now. It's just, I don't know, it's about $10 or $12. It'll be the best $10 or $12 that you spend if you have any thoughts about either how to treat your symptoms with hormones or hormone alternatives, because I talk about both. And I also talk about how to talk with your doctor when you go to the doctor, because let me tell you, it's sometimes when you're sitting there and you're little Johnny and you've got just about 8 minutes with somebody and you're nervous, it's pretty easy to forget what you want to say or not ask the right questions that are going to serve you. And so I talk about that in the book, How to Talk to Your Doctor, and I explain all of the background that goes into the issues related to menopause and treating it, because the symptoms and the treatments have gotten scary. And if you know the timing of when to treat, and you know what to treat with, how much, how long, and so forth, then you can actually benefit, not have to endure the symptoms, and you can also do it safely for the vast, vast majority of women. Well, if you have questions, this would be a good time to do it, because I'm going to wrap up in just a moment. I'll just say one last time that that this is brought to you by HotYearsMag.com, and I do hope you'll check out the magazine. And I hope that you will also take advantage of the Menopause Quiz. Go to menopausequiz.com and take that 2-minute quiz. Find out how much your symptoms are impacting you. And we'll be stopping in just a moment, but should you come to this after it's posted and it's not live currently, I do go back and check the Facebook Lives. And so if you have a question, don't be shy about putting your question down. I will check it, and if I can, I'll try to answer it for you at that time. And I would love it if you would let me know that you're here. I would love it if you would let me hear from you now and just tell me either that this was helpful, or there are things that you'd like to know, or there's topics that you'd like to get. I'm here on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern and at 6 p.m. Pacific. And I hope that you will join me each week for Ask Dr. Mache on Facebook Live. So, not seeing any questions, I will stop for now. I want to thank you for joining me, and I want to welcome you next week. In the meantime, I hope that you celebrate Mom's Day, Mother's Day. I hope you have a wonderful holiday, a pleasant time visiting with your mother or your kids or friends that are mothers and kids, and enjoy your holiday. So, in the meantime, remember, it's better to stay well than to get well. So stay well. Hello, Ellen. How are you? How long is the menopause process? Well, the menopause process, I don't know what you mean by the menopause process, but the transition into menopause can last anywhere from 5 to 10 years. And so the symptoms can last a pretty long time, depending on who you are and what you're going through. And where are you from, Ellen? What state are you from, or what city are you from? And so what symptom are you most troubled by? What is most bothersome to you at this time? Yeah, it can last a long time. She's saying, oh no, and that is correct. Oh no. But let's see. Is that Indiana? Is that what it means? I am not sure. But hot flashes. Yes, hot flashes are rough. And, you know, I always say that, you know, as a matter of fact, I deal with so many women that have hot flashes. I always keep a fan out because sometimes I feel hot going through it. But I always say that I have been through menopause over 10,000 times because I have taken care of over 10,000 women. And, you know, I'm going to be starting a boot camp on hot flashes in just about a couple of weeks. But if you're interested in something that would be helpful to you now, I have a hot flash rescue kit. If you could go there, it's under $20, and it gives you everything you need to know about hot flashes. It really will be helpful to you. And thank you for the kind words. And if you go to Hot Flash Rescue Kit, HOTFLASHRESCUEKIT.com, then you can get the Hot Flash Rescue Kit. It will give you videos and other things that will be helpful to you, and you can understand what they're doing and have a choice of treatments that will be helpful to you. So, Ellen, thank you very much for being brave and saying something, and appreciate that very much. And anybody else has anything, please say it now, and I'll be happy to try and address your questions. And okay, awesome. HotFlashRescueKit.com, and you'll find it there. And I've made it available very inexpensively, under $20, and you'll find it, you know, it's got a ton of information for you. Okay, super. Thank you, Ellen, for speaking up. And again, share this, and you have a great night too. In the meantime, remember, it's better to stay well than to get well. And please join me next Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and share this with your friends so they can listen in on this information. All the best to you.